So, Gaddafi's dead. Gaddafi's dead. I'm sitting here watching the news. In fact, I just had to turn it off because the propaganda from Sky here is just disgusting. I can't bother listening to it. David Cameron's just made his speech about closing a chapter on a long sordid history of the murder of PC Yvonne Fletcher way back in the 80s. I actually remember that. Well, we know that was Mossad. And then the blowing up of Pan Am over Lockerbie. But wasn't that just after the Americans had blown an Iranian passenger aircraft out of the sky? But then you want to blame Libya for that. So Libya's been catching some severe breaks, some severe bad ones. I mean, obviously the place was too rich to function in Africa for the West's liking, and I think we may have actually seen the toppling of Gaddafi. There's a very grainy footage of what it looks like NATO mercenaries with Gaddafi's body, and they've been dragging it around the streets and so forth. But the point of this is, what can we learn from this? Because remember, this started off, I mean, in terms of the whole propaganda machine, this started off with Gaddafi bombing his own people. Then it was Gaddafi was handing out Viagra to rape people. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? And then what was the other one? Black mercenaries from Niger and Chad opening fire and killing innocent Libyans, which actually precipitated the entire uprising, apparently. So this whole thing was racially led, or racially based from its inception. Very played down extremely heavily in Western media, but it was a race war. 2011, Libya was a race war. We've seen the extermination of an entire wiping out of villages, extermination of black people in Libya. And my whole thing about this was, what can we learn from this black people? Now, whether you want to consider the black people over there, the original Libyans, one might say they're Hamitic. You want to consider them a different black person to you as a Negro, yeah, fine, you can do that. It's okay. But I still think the ones who died execution style with their hands tied behind their back and a bullet in their head, I still, I've got thoughts on those people. What were they doing? You got black people living in a country that obviously thinks what's going around them doesn't have anything to do with them. So all of those black people that were killed, that awaited the arrival of NTC rebels, I mean, how could you not know they were racist from the off? I mean, this has been the whole thing, but black people still wanted to stay where they were and get murdered. Now, some of them did leave, and I believe we're about to see a massive bloodletting now that Gaddafi's dead. I think the integrity of his forces or the defense forces may fall away, and now you're going to start to see more massacres of black people. This is not even an argument. All you need to do is go onto YouTube and see racist NATO mercenaries, and from what I can see of these NATO mercenaries, they're all Muslims killing black people. They're all screaming Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Where is Farrakhan during all of this? Okay, where are your black Muslims? Yeah, all of your street consciousness debates. And right, was Muhammad black? I mean, all of those, black Muslims. Come on now, this should be a wake-up call. This should be a wake-up call to you guys. I mean, clearly you're on the wrong path, because I'm looking at my TV now, and I'm seeing NATO rebels screaming Allah Akbar. That's what I'm watching. They evidently they believe that they're Muslims. They've just taken out Gaddafi, and why on earth would they be screaming Allah Akbar if they weren't Muslims? So if there are any black Muslims, I'd like a couple of comments as to what you think your brethren are doing over there, slaughtering other black people. And so once again, in our lifetimes, we have another major event centered around race. And your Negro has no opinion, comment on barely even knowledge of the facts, barely even knowledge of the events. But my thing was, and the purpose of this was, black people cannot live your lives Black people, you cannot live your lives thinking that everything around you has nothing to do with you. You got black people in this country, you got black people in America thinking the whole Libya thing has got nothing to do with them. You got black people in America thinking the whole Occupy Wall Street has got nothing to do with them. You got black people in the UK thinking that the austerity riots that happened in Greece and in Italy and in Rome, well, Rome, Italy, and in Greece, and here, right, the Tottenham riots, okay, which was sparked off by the shooting of Mark Duggan. Nevertheless, they were austerity riots. You think that's got, a lot of them think that's got nothing to do with them. Now, I think what you saw in Libya, I mean, I think every third world power or nation head should take note of this, because it's only a matter of time before NATO make their way around to you, okay? And the ones who are in power at the moment, well, we've seen disgraceful actions in Sierra Leone and the Ivory Coast, Liberia, over the years, and that's the French getting their hands involved in Europe. So we're seeing a neo-colonialist effort in 2011, and there are lots of black people who think that this has got nothing to do with them, and they will continue living their life, and they will say things to you like, well, does this help you pay your bills? What does this knowledge help you doing? How is this helping you in any way? Because they are so focused on the acquisition of materialistic goods and money. Now, there's nothing wrong with money, and there's nothing wrong with acquiring materialistic goods, but at the disassociation of everything else that's going on around the world, it's only a matter of time before people make their way round to you. Now, if you're living in the UK and you're living in the US, and as we know, it's going to kick off again. Of course it's going to kick off again. Come on, these are austerity riots. Obviously, the black people from this country made their way over to Greece and started riots. And then they went over to Italy and started riots. Then this nihilistic gangster culture, right? A black boy and white girl involved in this language together. Yeah, okay, Dr. David Starkey, right? So how is Dr. David Starkey's summation of the Tottenham riots? How is that? How do we translate that across to the other European cities in flames at the moment? Oh, we can't. Oh, because your definition was racist bollocks, and the real reason for the riots was poverty. That's why you see people with bags of basmati rice and Eastern Europeans running down the road with shopping baskets full of pasta and shit, right, before they burnt down the Lidls. Yeah, there's poverty riots, but there will be black people who will not know what's going on, and the wave of revolution will sweep through their neighborhoods, and they will stay in their houses thinking this has got nothing to do with them. And those at the head of this revolution will be looking to lynch your nigger ass. Where's the niggers? That's what you'll be hearing outside your door. Come out, nigger. That's what you'll be hearing. And so I did actually have sympathy for the black people that were lynched and killed in Sirte, and the black people that were lynched and killed in Benghazi and in Tripoli, but those people were existing thinking that this had nothing to do with them. And okay, so we had the mercenaries, then we even had the Nigerian just immigrants there just to work, and the entire social structure has been ripped apart because those people are now considered terrorists. They might as well have been fighting. They might as well have been fighting, might have actually helped out, but no, they didn't want to fight. They only wanted to be there as an economic asset, an economic workforce, and they got lynched for their troubles. That's got to teach you something. That's got to teach you something, right? And I don't think black people can afford to isolate yourselves as to what is going on around the world, because it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. It's already all of those bougie nouveau riche niggas that decided to move up to Enfield and what was the other, and Eltham, where Stephen Lawrence got killed. You know, when the riots were kicking off, even if you were on a bus coming through that area, the people stopped the bus. All right, so you know, you might think you're getting one over and you're moving up the social ladder and everything. And there's nothing wrong with moving up the social ladder. There's nothing wrong with moving up the social scale. There's nothing wrong with getting and buying better properties. But if you think you're getting something because you're doing it in a white neighborhood, they're gonna bite you in the ass. Yeah, that's it.